In 1987, a 12-man reconnaissance unit disappeared for 72 hours in the Hindu Kush mountains. When they returned, only 6 were alive, and every single one of them drew the same thing during psychological evaluation: a figure so large it blocked out the moon. Before we begin, if you're fascinated by the stories the military doesn't want you to hear, hit that subscribe button. You're about to hear something that was buried in a vault for 37 years, and I'm risking a lot by telling it. My name is Marcus Hale, and I was 23 years old when I stopped believing the world made sense. It was October 1987. The Cold War was winding down, but the mountains of Afghanistan were still crawling with Soviet forces, Mujahideen fighters, and something else. Something we weren't briefed on, something that didn't belong in any manual or intelligence report. Our unit, call sign Raven 6, was inserted via Black Hawk helicopter into a remote valley in the Wakhan Corridor, a finger of Afghan territory wedged between Pakistan, Tajikistan, and China. Our mission was simple on paper: locate a downed Soviet reconnaissance drone, retrieve or destroy it, and extract before dawn. The CIA wanted that tech. We were just the hands that grabbed it. There were 12 of us. I remember every face. Lieutenant Graves led the team, 34, calm, the kind of officer who never raised his voice because he never needed to. Staff Sergeant Cole was our demolitions expert, built like a bear, always chewing tobacco even at 16,000 feet. Then there was Ramirez, our medic, quiet and careful. Perkins and Zhang handled communications. The rest were riflemen like me: Booker, Sullivan, Hayes, Ortega, Dominguez, and a kid we called Preacher because he carried a pocket Bible and never cursed. The helicopter dropped us at 200 hours on a plateau surrounded by jagged peaks that looked like broken teeth against the stars. The rotor wash kicked up ancient dust, and within 30 seconds, the Black Hawk was gone, swallowed by the night sky. The silence that followed was so complete, it felt like the mountain itself was holding its breath. "Spread out, standard recon formation," Graves said, his voice low and steady through the headset. We moved quiet, eyes open. The air was thin and cold, biting through our gear. My breath came out in clouds, and every step crunched softly on loose shale. The valley below us was a black void. No lights, no fires, nothing. Just rock and shadow stretching for miles. We descended into the valley in a staggered line, night vision goggles turning the world into eerie shades of green. The terrain was brutal: sharp rocks, sudden drops, patches of ice that gleamed like glass. Zhang kept muttering into the radio, trying to get a clear signal back to base, but the mountains were eating the transmission. "Getting interference," he said, tapping his equipment. "Could be atmospheric, could be Soviet jamming." "Keep trying," Graves said. 2 hours in, we found the drone. It was wedged into a crevice at the base of a cliff, half buried in scree. The thing was bigger than I expected, about the size of a pickup truck, matte black, no markings except Cyrillic stenciling on one crumpled wing. Cole moved in first, running his gloved hands over the hull, checking for booby traps. Clean, but it's been here a while. Week, maybe 2. Get the data core. Rig it to blow once we extract the hardware. Cole and Perkins went to work with tools and cutting torches, while the rest of us formed a perimeter. That's when I started to feel it, a pressure in the air, like the moments before a lightning strike. My skin prickled beneath my uniform. "You feel that?" Sullivan whispered beside me. I nodded. "Yeah, something's off." Hayes, scanning the ridgeline with his rifle scope, suddenly stiffened. Movement, 2 o'clock, high. Every weapon swung toward the ridge. Through my NVGs I saw nothing, just rock and shadow.
But Hayes wasn't the type to spook easy. "What did you see?" Graves asked, moving up beside him. "Something big," Hayes said, his voice tight. "Real big. Moved behind that outcrop." We waited. 60 seconds. 90. Nothing. "Probably a goat," Cole muttered, but his hand stayed on his rifle. "Goats don't move like that," Hayes said. Graves made a decision. "Sullivan, Hale, check it out. Stay on comms." We moved carefully up the slope, boots slipping on loose stone. The ridge was about 40 meters above the valley floor, a narrow spine of rock that overlooked the crash site. When we reached the outcrop Hayes had pointed to, Sullivan swept his rifle left while I went right. There were tracks. Not animal tracks, not human tracks.
Footprints. Barefoot. Each one was easily 3 feet long, pressed deep into the frozen mud, so deep that whatever made them had to weigh thousands of pounds. The toes were splayed, the arch pronounced, the heel a crater. "Jesus Christ," Sullivan breathed. I keyed my radio with shaking hands. "Graves, you need to see this." The whole team came up. Everyone stood around those prints in silence, headlamps cutting white beams through the dark. Ramirez knelt down, placing his gloved hand inside one of the impressions. His fingers didn't even reach halfway across. "This isn't possible," he said quietly. "Pack it up," Graves said, his voice hard. "We're leaving, now." But Cole was still staring at the tracks, following them with his eyes. "They lead up, higher into the mountain." "I don't care where they lead," Graves snapped. "We complete the mission and extract. Move." We hauled the data core out of the drone, rigged the rest with C4, and started the climb back toward the extraction point. The charges blew behind us, a dull crump that echoed across the valley like distant thunder. But the sound that followed wasn't an echo. It was a roar. Low, guttural, it rolled down from the peaks above us, vibrating through the ground, through our bones. It wasn't animal. It wasn't human. It was something else, something old and furious. "Run!" Graves said. We ran. The valley became a blur of stone and ice as we scrambled upward, boots slipping, lungs burning in the thin air. Behind us, rocks tumbled down the slope, big ones, boulders the size of cars, crashing and splintering. Something was moving up there, something massive. Zhang was screaming into the radio. "Raven 6, requesting immediate extract. We're compromised. Repeat, we are—" A shadow fell over us. I looked up. The moon was full that night, bright enough to cast shadows even without NVGs. But suddenly, it was gone, blotted out by a shape so enormous it defied comprehension. A silhouette, humanoid, standing on the ridge above us. It had to be 30 feet tall, maybe more. Shoulders broad as a house, arms hanging down past their knees. And its head, God, its head was turned toward us. "Contact!" someone screamed, and gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness as half the team opened fire, tracers arcing upward toward the figure. The sound was deafening, bullets sparking off rock. But the thing didn't fall. It didn't even flinch. It moved. One step, a single step, and it covered 20 feet. The ground shook. Another step, and stones rained down around us. It was descending the slope, not running, just walking, and every footfall was an earthquake. "Split up!" Graves roared. "Break contact and rally at the LZ!" We scattered like roaches. I ran with Sullivan and Preacher, veering left into a narrow ravine, while the others went right. Behind us, the shooting continued, short, panicked bursts, and then screams. Real screams, the kind that come from men who know they're about to die. The ravine twisted and climbed, too narrow for something that size to follow.
We ran until our legs gave out, collapsing behind a tumble of boulders, gasping for air. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it would burst. "What the fuck was that?" Sullivan whispered, his face pale, eyes wild. Preacher was praying, hands clasped tight, lips moving silently. I didn't have an answer. I didn't have anything. We waited there for an hour, maybe more, listening. The gunfire had stopped. The mountain was silent again, except for the wind. Eventually, Sullivan's radio crackled. Anyone copy? This is Graves." Sullivan grabbed the handset. "Graves, this is Sullivan. We copy. Where are you?" Static. Then, "North face. LZ compromised. 6 of us left. It's still out there." "We're moving to you," Sullivan said.
Negative. Graves' voice came back, stronger now. "Stay hidden until dawn. That thing hunts at night. Sunrise, we move together." We stayed in that ravine until the sky began to lighten, a slow, creeping gray that turned the mountains into silhouettes. My body ached from the cold, my mind numb from terror. When the sun finally broke over the peaks, we moved. The rendezvous point was a flat expanse of rock near the original LZ. We found Graves there, along with Cole, Ramirez, Zhang, Ortega, and Hayes. 6 of us left. The other 6, Booker, Perkins, Dominguez, and 3 others, were gone. Graves's face was hollow, his eyes red-shot. "It took 'em," he said simply, "one by one. We tried to fight it. Didn't matter." "What is it?" I asked. He shook his head. "I don't know, but it's still up there." The extraction bird arrived at 0800 hours, a Black Hawk that dropped fast and hard, rotors screaming. We piled in, and as we lifted off, I looked out the open door, scanning the ridges. That's when I saw it. Standing on a peak, half hidden behind a spire of rock, the figure. It was watching us leave, arms at its sides, motionless. In the daylight, I could see details I wished I couldn't. Skin the color of stone, hair or fur matted and dark, a face too far away to make out, but somehow wrong. And it was huge, bigger than anything should be. Then the helicopter banked, and the mountains swallowed it from view. When we landed at the forward operating base, we were separated immediately, debriefed individually. I sat in a windowless room for 6 hours, telling the same story over and over to men in uniforms without name tags. They didn't ask questions like soldiers. They asked questions like scientists. How tall would you estimate it was? Did it vocalize? Did you see its eyes? A week later, they handed me a document to sign, thick as a phone book. I signed it. We all did. What choice did we have? The official report called it environmental disorientation and enemy contact. 6 KIA. Cause of death, hostile engagement with unidentified combatants. No mention of tracks, no mention of the roar, no mention of the thing that walked through bullets and took 6 men into the dark. But here's what they didn't erase. During our psych evaluations, each of us, separately, without talking to each other, drew the same thing when asked to illustrate what we saw. A figure, 30 feet tall, standing against the moon. I'm 61 now. Graves died of a heart attack in 2003. Cole drank himself to death. Ramirez won't return my calls. The others scattered, and I don't blame them. But sometimes, late at night, I'll search online for reports out of the Hindu Kush, missing climbers, strange sightings, villages abandoned without explanation. And I'll find them. Always in the same region. Always near the same mountains. The military erased it from the report. But you can't erase something that's still out there. Still walking. Still watching. Still waiting.